Hey, welcome back to C.O.G Music. I'm Steve, and I wanted to dedicate this video to my dad who recently passed away. And it led me to think about the guitar kits I've assembled up to this point. With all the things I was going through in relation to my dad's situation, I was looking for a distraction that went beyond playing. And the guitar kits really fit that niche for me. There are factors to consider. So let's get into those. Factor number one, cost. One of the really attractive things about guitar kits is they're very inexpensive. And there's a reason for that. They're mass produced, mainly in China. That low budget labor that they're going to have, the lower grade wood for the body and the necks are going to come into play. Everything. They're going to minimize their cost to produce it as much as possible. It might look very attractive if you're looking to buy a first guitar. Just because something is cheap does not make it worth buying. You're just starting out playing guitar, you want to get your first guitar, or you're somebody who has guitars, you want to add to the collection that you have, but you don't have a lot of money to spend. There are great low budget electric guitars out there. Fender has their Squier line, Gibson has their Epiphone line. Ibanez, one of the main things I became such a huge fan of Ibanez for was low-priced guitars that were just awesome for the amount of money that they cost. So if you're uncertain about tackling something that's a project you're not familiar with, you're a little bit intimidated by doing that, save up your money. Don't opt for an inexpensive guitar kit to save $100. Save up that extra $100. Get yourself a nice low budget guitar. Subject number two to take into consideration if you're thinking about a guitar kit is very much tied in with the cost, and that's value. You may be an extremely lucky person, and by that I mean someone who places an order for a guitar kit, receives it, goes about doing everything that needs to be done, and you do a fantastic job on everything. Staining the body and the neck, clear coating the body and the neck, and all of the sanding and polishing and buffing that goes along with that. All the hardware fits perfectly and works perfectly, and you don't even have to do much of a setup to it. That's not going to happen for the vast majority of people that buy a guitar kit. But if you are the lucky ones that have that happen, there's still value to consider. The cheaper pickups that come with a guitar kit, the cheaper tuners that come with a guitar kit, the cheap manufacturing process that goes into those things and others like a bridge or the pots that come with the kit. Issues very well may come up with all of those because they're extremely inexpensive items that add up to an inexpensive guitar kit. The value that comes with buying a $220 Squier Telecaster is probably well worth the extra savings that you're going to have to build up and acquire to purchase that guitar, rather than simply buying a Squier Telecaster copy Chinese-made guitar kit. The pickups are very well not going to sound as good. The fullness and the loudness that the guitar is capable of producing is very limited with these guitar kits because of the very inexpensive electronics that come with it. And by the time, if you're thinking about, well, I'll get one, but I'm going to upgrade all that, don't. It's not worth the money. Get yourself a nice budget guitar made by a well-known guitar manufacturer. Do not get me wrong, I am not trying to say buying a Squier, an Epiphone, an Ibanez, Yamaha is going to guarantee that you're not going to have issues. People that buy custom shop guitars that cost thousands and thousands of dollars have issues with their guitars. So that's not what I'm trying to infer. You're much less likely, in my opinion, to have issues with those low budget, large company guitar manufacturers rather than a Chinese guitar kit. Item number 3, time. This is probably the most important one that you really need to think about. And even thinking about it may not prepare you for what ends up happening. There's a lot of time, there should be, let me put it that way, there should be a lot of time in assembling these guitar kits. Unless you're good with not staining or coating the body and neck whatsoever, maybe a very light natural stain followed by a matte or satin finish will really save you a lot of time. But if you're thinking of, wanting to have a good looking guitar and do some staining, painting, and clear coating, there's a lot of time involved. With the clear coat, it's cure time, not dry time, cure time. And there's a lot of cure time involved with almost any finish you choose to use, whether it's varnish, polyurethane, an acrylic enamel. It needs to cure. That can take weeks. If you want a good looking finish, you're not going to get a perfect finish, but a good looking finish, you are going to have to wait for those cure times before you start assembling anything. Once you start assembling things, problems most likely are going to come up. And it's because of the high volume cranking out of these kits in Chinese factories using cheap labor, cheap parts. Things aren't going to line up properly. There are ways of dealing with a lot of the issues that you may come across, but they're going to take time, which also comes in, let's say, you're somebody who works a full-time job during the week and have overtime available and you're taking advantage of that and you're just too tired when you get home from work. So your time is going to be limited to the weekends for you working on your guitar kit. Unexpected things come up. Life happens. There's going to be days, perhaps the whole weekend, where working on your guitar kit is not going to come about. So if you're one of those people that wants a decent guitar that you can take out of the box, plug it in, maybe do some very minor tweaking to it, and be playing, then again, those budget-friendly large guitar company options are probably a better way to go. Cost, value, time. So at this particular point, I have assembled 3 guitar kits. I just want to go over some of the issues I had with each and good points as well. The first one was what I call the Ibanez. It's a Chinese copy of an Ibanez Geo. I went into it completely open, just wanting to learn and, again, just keep my mind off of other things I was dealing with. And this really fit the bill. Now, there were problems with it. I had to remove some of the wood from the bridge pocket. Mistakes were made staining it. This was the first kit I ever did. But I was very happy with how it turned out in the end. It did take a lot of disassembling, dealing with issues, putting it back together, and the setup of it. Even after, you're like, okay, I'm happy with the finish of the body and the neck. You're going to have to do a lot of work getting it set up, adjusting the neck, adjusting the string height, adjusting the intonation, and you're going to find out issues that really are not going to be fixable in the end. You're just going to have to be satisfied with the best you can get out of a guitar kit. So be prepared for that. The second guitar kit I bought was an Explorer copy. This was, out of the 3 kits, the most expensive of the 3. A little bit over $150. But I just absolutely love the body of an Explorer. And I put in a lot more time on the finishing aspect. I wanted a nice gloss finish. The staining process, I wanted a fade of purple into the black. Now I'm going to be honest with you. All of these lightning bolts you see that I put on here, those are there specifically to cover up mistakes that I did in the finishing process of the clear coat. The other thing with this particular kit, I had to replace a lot of the electronics. I replaced the pickups. I did all the wiring, redoing all the wiring. This was a pre-wired kit, plug and play type situation. You've got, with just this toggle switch, you got 4 wires for 3 of the positions, the 2 pickups and a combo of the 2 pickups, and then a ground wire. All have to go back into the cavity on the back. The holes that are pre-drilled in this body are not drilled large enough for the amount of wires. By the time you start feeding your pickup wires through, and they have the plastic quick connect on the end of it, after you've got 4 wires already going through those holes, and you go to do the pickups, at least in my experience with this particular kit, I was literally pushing and pulling wires to get them through. So pulling and pushing wires through, I did a lot of damage to the wiring. They use the absolute minimum length of wire that they can. Also, the wire is such shitty gauge. It's so small. The pots are small. I replaced those, all 3, the 2 volume pots and the tone. So this ended up costing me a lot more than just the cost of the kit. These aren't the pickups that came with the kit. It's not the toggle switch that came with the kit. As I said, the pots are different. I repurchased much thicker gauge wire, purchased everything I needed for soldering, and that was a process, learning how to solder correctly. So this took a very long time, but again, I was still looking for something to distract me. This definitely did that. I did want to say, in relationship to the Explorer kit, there were positives to it. Number one, it's a set neck. It's a glued-in neck, but everything lined up extremely well. The pocket that the neck had to go in, with the positioning of the bridge, everything lined up and was on center. So I will give the company that makes that particular kit some credit for that. Our kit number 3 was this Telecaster copy. I had some blue paste dye that I used on this when I originally stained the body and the neck. It came out much darker than I thought it was going to. But what I ended up doing was throwing on some of the white, antique white stain that I have, and kind of just giving it a worn, distressed look, which I was very happy with how it came out. The pick guard, you know, these kits have, you're going to get white or black for a pick guard. And it's one of the ways you could add a little bit more flash to your guitar. And I spray painted this gun metal metallic and clear coated it with gloss. Now I use satin clear coat on the body and the neck, just to go along with that, you know, used distressed type of look. I love the simplicity of the Telecaster. Volume knob, tone knob, three-way switch, neck pickup, bridge pickup, in between for a combination of the two. But definitely issues with this. And the third guitar kit I've assembled is this classic Telecaster copy. I tried to keep it simple as far as finishing the body and the neck. I kept them both the same color. I added a little bit of this antique white, is what it was called, stain. Tried to brush it in and get it mixed in with the blue to give it a weathered look. I love the simplicity of the Telecaster. Neck, single coil pickup, bridge, single coil pickup, volume and tone. Simple, really warm tones, which I actually do get from this particular guitar. The big problem I had with this guitar, which there was issues with all three guitar kits, the neck, it is a piece of crap, so to speak. It needed major truss rod adjustment. A couple of the frets needed filing down. The nut was the slots in the nut were way too high. I actually removed the nut completely, sanded a lot of material off the bottom. It was still too high, so I filed out the slots. But the neck, it's twisted. That's what I have come to figure out. It's really hard to get this intonated correctly. Part of that is based on this 3-barrel saddles, which is what a classic Telecaster has. But each saddle shares 2 strings, so you might get the intonation perfect on one string, and you're going to have to change the position because it's not going to be perfect on the other string it shares with, like the low E and the A string. And you have to just compromise and find a happy middle to the whole thing. So that was the biggest negative. Also super dry. I've added multiple coats of lemon oil to the fingerboard and it still looks pretty dry. I did, went with a metallic gloss clear coat pick guard. I mean, this is the one it came with. It was white. I just spray painted and clear coated it. So there's positives and negatives to all of this. If you're thinking about purchasing a guitar kit, really think about it thoroughly, and cost probably is going to be low. Value probably is going to be lower than what you would expect. And time is going to be a lot more than what you're going to expect. So just going to a lower budget friendly major guitar name guitar might be for you rather than a guitar kit. If you're looking just to work on something besides your guitar playing, you do also learn a lot about how the guitar works. A lot of that comes from troubleshooting problems, but I hope this helped someone out there that's on the fence. Do I spend some more time saving up some more money to get that budget-friendly major name guitar, or do I buy a guitar kit? There are pluses and minuses to both. I hope it helped a little bit. I will do individual videos demonstrating the 3 guitars. I did a little bit of playing on the Ibanez, but try to get some more videos up about that. I do have one more guitar kit I plan on putting together, and I plan on going off in a direction completely different from the 3 I've put together as far as the staining process. So I'll also try to get a video up demonstrating that. Guys, thank you for checking this video out. Remember to have fun when you're playing or working or assembling your guitar. Fun is the main priority. I'll see you on the next one.